Greetings, students. This is a video that's going to go at 2.1 and 2.2 in economics. Okay, first task, copy and title the Unit 2 note-taking sheet. So go ahead and open it. Notice I get a little circle every time I click. And remember to do that. We're going to choose File. I'm going to choose Make a Copy. I'm going to go put our name in it. I will do the notes simultaneously. And if you're watching this video, you should be doing what I'm doing generally. And then if I say pause and finish this, or pause and do this on your own, go ahead and pause and then do it on your own and then keep moving. Okay. So this is me making a copy. And it should be doing the same. Go ahead and get your name, date, and period in there. Why am I doing everything exactly? Well, I want to make sure the pace is reasonable in the notes. I think the first day you're going to be doing this, let's look at the assignment, will be 8/17. So generally you're going to want it to be the first day you start it, day you finish, just to keep it simple. I have 4 economics classes. Let's do third period this time. I just like to pick one. Okay, so when you're doing the notes, the slideshows are going to be linked here for your convenience. So all you need is the document to get you everywhere else you need. And then the video, the first one, will be in here, what I'm making right now, etc. And that's how it's going to go. And so by the time we come back to it, this will get hot linked. But it's not yet because I'm currently making this video. So go ahead and open this, and I'm going to just do everything that I would ask you to do. So go ahead and open it. Make sure it's in a new tab. I haven't really created audio file, so I'm just going to give you the lecture and complete the notes at the same time. Here's what I would choose to do. I would go ahead and use tab resize here, because I'm going to want my note-taking spaces and my visual spaces to be pretty much dead on even. That should not be showing. So here's 2.1 and 2.2. But I also need the note-taking part. Let's see. Where did that end up? That ended up here. Okay, let's make that one even, and then make this one even. I think maybe shrink this one a little until I have enough room to do the notes. And sometimes when you're working and making copies, things will get in your way. Just move them as needed. It's my advice. I just did. Yeah. So I got issues with the sizing here. I still think I would be better off shrinking this some more than shrinking this. So I can go over to here. See, I don't have to go past the margins, so I'm going to open this one up a little so I don't have to switch the screens as much. Okay, I'm happy with the appearance of that now. And I'm going to go ahead and move digital face me. That's me there. And I'll just kind of put me in the corner. Though I would never put myself in the corner in real life or anyone else, but there you go. Okay, so we got 3 key economic decisions. And on this side, I think if you go a little smaller, that gets a little bigger, bigger, that gets a little smaller. So I think like that feels about right to me. I'm going to just resize it even a little bit because I don't need my words over here to be too big, but I like to see what I'm looking at pretty big. Okay, I like that better. Okay, now let's begin. 3 key economic questions in free markets. That's the main topics in the textbook 2.1 and 2.2. The big questions you're going to see are, what are the key economic questions every society must answer? See how they're in both spots. What type of economic systems exist today, and how do free markets regulate themselves? Okay, let's go to the next one. Every society must answer 3 economic questions. This is going to be the keys ideas in 2.1. What, how, and who? Specifically, what goods and services should they produce? How should these goods and services be produced? Um, what I would say is don't worry about the underlining too much. Just get in between the underlining, notes in, and move on. Um, and then who consumes these goods and services? Because that'll affect what you make and really what you're offering to people. And yeah, all right. So those are the main issues. What goods and services should be produced? How should these goods and services be produced? And who consumes these goods and services? All right. Economic goals. Well, your answer is going to vary based on your societal goals. And really, it's a value choice. What do you want for your people? What do you want for your country? So, values will affect your decisions. It'll make your efficiency, your economic freedom. Everybody see where my little circle went? And for you, I think if we're playing this in class, you'll be able to have this full screen and it'll be a nice look for you. Um, Whereas I have to split screen, it should be actually a little bit better visually. And or you could split screens too if you ever had to do this on your own for whatever reason. You had a conflict and couldn't make it to class. Anyway, economic equality, economic growth, and innovation could affect these. How much are you innovating? How much is there freedom? In some countries, only men can do business, and so that's not very equal. And in other countries, there is a lot of equality. Other goals, such as environmental protection, can be factors too. Okay. Now, we didn't need to look at carefully at the one where the person was pulling out their hair, but let's take a peek at these visuals, see if they're helpful to us. Okay, what do we have here? It's like some kind of business. There might be a limit to how much you want people to work. Um, and then these are a variety of world leaders with different millennial goals. And I believe that is Sting from the Police, as well as people from a variety of countries. These are millennium goals: environment, health, gender equality, education, shown visually. And it looks like a fisherman, too. All right. Uh, this is referring to the four economic systems. This is going to refer to the traditional economy. Here, it looks like you have African tribes people marching in a city. So you're having different images, different customs, rituals, all intertwined. Um, and in like historic systems, the tribe would decide what to produce, how to, and then their customs and habits and rituals will develop from that. Okay, let's exit full screen here and add in the notes. See, hopefully you're seeing you have choice on how and when to write in your note. And it's nothing to stress over because you want to be relaxed so you have time to think. So what I would do is just get my word in there and make sure it's between the underline. Uh, yeah, that's it. Just move on because this is an introduction to the idea. However, if some of the introduction is not clear, you should stop and ask. Um, the second of the four economic systems is essentially planned economy. This was very much in vogue by the communist nations, particularly the Soviets. So you have a picture of or a map of the USSR, which is Soviet Union under communism. And under communism, it was a command economy. The government would decide production, consumption of services and goods. And this often led to shortages and a thriving black market. This is Joseph Stalin. The black market is a way to work around these government plans when there's holes in the system. The black market was such that you could sell a pair of jeans, Western jeans, in the neighborhood of a couple $100s, in the 1980s, even though they're probably worth in the neighborhood of $30 to $50. So yeah, you get a major markup when you have to buy things outside of the system. Okay, mostly it doesn't work because the market regulates production and consumption choices better and faster than any government could. So centrally planned economies have failed. That's why there's a lot of shortages and things missing in Cuba. Okay, so the next couple, more common, you have market economies. This is our economy, but even within that, they'll have mixed economy within that. Let's be real specific about which each one is. When you're talking a market economy, that's when economic decisions are made by individuals and corporations based on the exchange of trade. You want to sell more of something that people want to buy. Supply and demand determine price to maximize value. This is Adam Smith's ideal system, and he would talk about an invisible hand of the market guiding economic decisions because people are profit motivated. A mixed economy would tend to combine several of these elements or a few of them. Uh, could be traditional and free market with limited government intervention. This is most modern economies because even though we generally trust the market to regulate, we want to make sure there's a safety net. And that safety net is some government intervention to make sure people don't suffer with economics. Okay, people don't go hungry. People don't turn to crime because they're frustrated, and so that's what you have with the mixed economy. There's a piggy bank showing how people can manage their own economic choices. All right, let's go to the next one. Why do markets exist? Well, uh, think about what you're wearing today. Nobody made your clothes, but if it was 300 years ago, 1720 something, most of you would be wearing clothes that were made in your household, whether it was by yourself or somebody else. Um, why is that? It's because it's more efficient for the market to produce clothes than each individual household. Um, Similar with food and whatnot today, but back then it would have been everything was produced on each person's plot of land. Um, a market is an arrangement which allows buyers and sellers to exchange goods and services. This could be an informal market or a formal market, a supermarket, a flea market, someone buying something at a corner lot from a vendor, whether they're selling fruit or ice cream, whatever. Um, that is any kind of basic market where you can exchange goods and services, buy and sell. Specialization is concentration of productive efforts on a limited number of activities. Um, so this happens too, even within those systems. Like Apple is not making clothes. Apple is focused on tech products. Sure, they make phones, they make watches, iPads, but those are all technical products. Okay, so yeah, well, let's take a look at the next one. This is a joke about specializing. Everybody is specializing these days. Just steak, just potatoes, just pudding, just salad, just soup. So basically, you cannot get a whole meal at one place. You're going to have to stop at all these places. So there is a downside if there's over specialization because it could affect convenience. But then people say, well, if you specialize, maybe you'll get the best salad or the best soup or the best steak. And so, yeah, this is the niche versus the convenience argument. All right, let's talk about the free market economy some more. In a free market, households and business firms use markets to exchange money and products. That's true. Um, my household goes to a store to purchase um, groceries. Your household probably does too. But we don't just do that. My wife also will stop at the stand and pick up green beans or strawberries or cherries. Um, So we don't always do the big market. Sometimes we go to a smaller market, but it's we're not producing all our own goods and services. Though you saw more of that, especially during the pandemic at its height. But households, when you're talking households, you're talking about a family unit that is together in any particular area, but you're talking about them collectively. And they own the factors of production because they're the ones producing goods and services for the economy. At least individually, they're working towards a collective action to produce those goods and services, and each one contributes. Like my household doesn't directly contribute food, but we're contributing education, which is part of making the economy work. And some households might be contributing food, but it all goes into the market, which eventually these things will get consumed. When you're talking firms, you're talking the business who supply the goods and services. And here's the thing: the people from those households will be working in the firms, so they are interrelated. Um, but they're going to supply the goods and services and purchase factors of production. When you see the GNS here, that's the factors of production they're referring to. All right, we're going to look at a couple of charts right now and keep going here. Let's take a look at them. And you need to see this better. I think you're going to be able to see this better probably in your book, but let's look at this one full screen. See if we can point out a couple of things. Okay, so if you see here, households pay the firms for goods and services. My household will pay for, I don't know, an insect service, a pool service, a cleaner, uh, groceries, uh, hair products, nail products, all these things. Money is flowing into the firms. But then we're getting things flowing back to us, whether it's from Amazon or stores or whatnot. It comes back around. And firms will pay households for land, labor, and capital. The firm that's paying us is the Lodi Unified School District because we both, myself and my wife, work for the district. And then those monies go back into other firms. And so you get this circular loop. And the physical flow will be me supplying um, really human capital. I'm training the next generation of people to think. And this is in page 33 of the book. And so somewhere, someone in your household is producing one of these things. Probably not all of these things for society, but probably one of them. Usually, some kind of capital or labor is going back into the firm. Usually, the firm will purchase its own land, but it could be purchased from a household, conceivably too. Okay, and then if you look at this one, it's just another um, demonstration of what's happening with a different kind of visual. You got the firms have the goods and services. They're trying to provide for the certain markets. I was supposed to get an iPad, and that I am the market for that because I use technology, and then those products will be used in my household. If it's by me, I might share it with my daughter. I might not, but it'll be available in my household. And then you got the human resources, natural resources, capital resources going into the markets. So um, I'm providing training. Like I'm trying to train you to read directions better, to think better, to read better. And then when you're out there, you'll be a more valuable piece of human capital for whatever firm you're working for in some form or fashion, or even if you create your own firm. And then that those resource payments, the cash for my efforts will come back to here, back to the household, just like yours will. But then I'll make expenditures and revenues will go into the firms. And you just get this constant loop of households and firms exchanging goods, services, products, revenue, markets, etc. Everything is in a loop when it's working effectively. But then if things shut down, then you get problems. That's why you get shortages, whether it's toilet paper or masks or even people not learning because schools are closed or things are remote or whatnot. All right. Anyway, let's go to the next one and talk about economic freedom and full screen. When you're talking economic freedom, you're talking the free market systems, that have the most freedom of any system. They have the most freedom. Um, because no one's forcing you to go produce, no one's forcing you to work here or there, but it's not unlimited freedom either. You have to you have to get someone to agree to let you work there, and so there's limits to it. But uh, it's not. It's pretty free because there is a lot of choice in who to work for, what to work for, depending on what skills you have. If you don't have as many skills, you have less freedom economically. That's why education and training gives you a lot more happiness potential. Because if you're working for someone that you don't like, it's easier to leave if you know you can get hired somewhere else. Likewise, consumers decide what gets produced by purchasing. If you really don't like something, don't buy it. If you really don't like a company's policies, don't buy it. And by those choices, typically the company will either adjust or they will suffer economically, and the competitors will get a leg up based on making better choices. Okay, let's think about this quote from Adam Smith. Hopefully that's clear for you so far. Uh, he said, quote, "It is not from the benevolence or kindness of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest." Discuss in chat what Smith meant in this passage. Be ready to discuss. Answer on note taking sheet. Okay, so go ahead and discuss with your elbow partner and then answer what you think this one means. Uh, whether it's my haircut shop, whether it's food services, whether whatever it is, it's profit motivated, so people can get their own goods and services, and that's how the market works. Okay, let's talk about the market's self-regulating nature. Uh, the first thing is you have self-interest or personal gain is the goal for the buyer and seller, and it is the motivating force in the free market. People are working so they can make their profit. All right, that quote is pretty good. Nobody loves me like I love me, so me. That I think is a line from Cuba Gooding's character, Junior's character in Jerry Maguire. I know he goes something like "I love me, some me," and so yeah, um, that is the epitome of capitalism too. And it's not really considered a bad thing because that are motivated contribute more to the market, and so that's good for all consumption because then you get better value on your goods and you get a higher quality good. Yeah, so it's kind of funny, but it's also there's some kernels of truth in there. Competition is when producers struggle for the dollars of consumer, and it's the regulating force in the free market. So, if Airglade makes a better product than its competitor, their scenting product is gonna um, win out in the market. Or Campbell's soup might put Progresso soup out of business. By having multiple companies, it keeps the other one from either charging too much and or uh, lack ha- slipping on quality control because you could make another choice. This interaction of the market and consumers is described as the invisible hand of the economy, and it really what makes the economy self-regulating. So, and so there is no central plan because there need not be any central plan. Um, Instead, by consumer choices, firms will decide what goods and services to provide to the economy. Let's go ahead and take a look at this visuals just a little more detail. I'm going full screen. Okay, so this is an illustration of competition as you have these runners down the line. It's like we got a couple of sprinters. Is that Justin Gatlin? No, no, that's not Gatlin. Uh, anyway, this is Adam Smith. He was the one of the original fathers of economics in the 18th century. His work describing the invisible hand of economics really was the first formal description of capitalism. And he wrote a book, I believe it was called Wealth of Nations, describing these interactions. Right. What is this cartoon read? Hang in there, Hank. Got two more emergency rooms to check. I know I can beat the price over a general. So, economic competition in the market. Generally, people get hung up on trying to get the best deal. Sometimes you don't need the best deal, you just need the ambulance to show up so Hank doesn't die. This is a joke. I'm sure Hank was fine, and this is not any real scenario. But sometimes people do get obsessed over trying to get value, and that's the point. Advantages of the free market: efficiency, growth. You have to have growth for business to work. You have to have efficiency for things to self-regulate. Let's go ahead and add that to our notes. Economic efficiency, because it self-regulates. If people buy more of a product, more of the product gets produced. If you buy less of a product, less of the product gets produced because people are trying to profit. Growth is necessary for business to thrive. That's why they're always regulating the loan rate because that finances growth, right? Do free markets actually exist? Well, not really. But there's pockets of the economic systems that are free, but most economies are at least in part mixed because we don't want people to starve or have to turn to crime because their ability to compete in the free market is less. Like, so we provide aid to people that need it, whether it's in the form of food stamps or welfare, or if they're blind or disabled because they need extra help and we don't want them to be out of luck. But then those people contribute back to the marketplace. And it's really a societal value saying we don't want those people to suffer too much. So um, it's free market with a safety net, really. Let's go to the quiz. It says in complete sentences, answer each open note quiz question on your note taking sheet. This is day one of lecture notes. When all chapter notes are completed, submit to Google Classroom. Please do not submit today. That's correct. Remember, we're going to submit on, I think it's, um, looks like for this time, it'll be Wednesday, 8/25 from what I'm seeing. Okay. For this particular class and unit. But yours might be different if it's in the future. But eventually, you'll be submitting there. Okay. Okay. So, what are the key economic questions every society must answer? What, how, who? What, how, who? What, how, who? What, how, who? What is what to produce? Consume both, right? How to produce, consume. Like, how do we want to be environmentally responsible, or do we not want to be environmentally responsible? How do we want to treat our labor? Um, who to produce for? Who's our target consumer? Look at the questions. I know I totally rephrased it. Okay, did I get enough? Let's look up. What goods and services should be produced? How should the goods and services be produced? Who consumes these goods and services? Okay. think that's fine. What type of economic systems exist today? Okay. Did I write a sentence? No. Can I turn it into a sentence? Of course. That's how you do it. So you get the ideas first, and then you double check and make sure it's a sentence. So how do I do that? The key. I just go back and add some words from the question into the answer to make sure I have a complete thought. The key economic questions every society must answer are. Then I'm going to make a colon because I'm making a list. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to tab it. Boom. Is that a sentence? No. How do I make that a sentence? I get rid of all of that. I tab nothing. And I just bring it all together. And then when you have multiple words in a list, separating with a semicolon works. How do I have a sentence? You betcha. All right. Economic systems today are traditional, mixed, traditional, centrally planned, market, and mixed. I got them all. Traditional economic system, traditional, centrally planned, market, mixed. Got it. Right? Free markets regulate themselves as firms determine production of goods and services based on consumer choices, consumer purchasing choices. Regarding goods and services. In other words, each company is going to decide what to produce, how much to produce based on how much is purchased. I think that's enough for day one. If there's time, we might be continuing with day two. We'll just see how it goes. That concludes this lecture on key economic questions and free markets 2.1 and 2.2. Peace, peace, peace. Hope that was helpful.